Hi everyone, virtual presentation here today. This is John from Media Effects Group, along with Eileen, Brianna, Lillian, Miranda, and Patrick. And today we're talking about the media usage and gratification theory, which will be shortly explained here in this video. But in addition to uses and gratification theory, we are talking about how people have been using social media to effectively cope with and deal with COVID-19, the recent outbreak that has occurred in society. So we have reviewed data and have compiled it together for you in this presentation, having overviewed various hashtags over the course of 2 weeks. And we are talking about the relationships and the conclusions that we have found with this information. We hope you enjoy.
The media use and gratification theory first developed in the 1940s. In the 1940s and a couple of the decades that followed, this research focused solely on the gratification media users sought. And then in the 1970s, researchers turned their attention to the outcomes of media use and the social and psychological needs that media gratified. The theory is often credited to Jay Blumler and Elihu Katz, and their work was done in 1974. It relies on two principles specifically about media users. First, it says that people are not passive in their media use, instead they are active in the media they choose to consume. Second, it says that people rely on their knowledge of their motivations to make media choices that will meet their wants and needs. And with those two principles come 5 main assumptions. So the first is that media is goal-directed and then people are motivated to consume media. The second is it is selected based on the expectation that it will satisfy specific needs and desires. Third, media influence on behavior is filtered through social and psychological factors. Thus, personality and social context impact the media choices one makes and one's interpretation of media messages. And then fourth, media are in common competition with other forms of communication for an individual's attention. For example, an individual may choose to have an in-person conversation about an issue instead of watching a documentary about it. And the last one is that people are usually in control of media and therefore are not particularly influenced by it. So, one of the most important takeaways from this theory is that it stresses the power of the individual over the power of media. And you will learn more about how we took this theory and put it into a real-life situation and examples using Twitter and Instagram.
What we did with our experiment is we used the gratification theory to view how people use social media to post and make themselves feel better and make themselves feel heard, and how they use social media to get satisfaction for themselves. So we did this partly by Patrick and I going on Instagram. And while on Instagram, we looked up 2 hashtags, hashtag coronavirus and hashtag COVID-19. And we looked at how often that these tags were used every day on what post. And then we would also delve in a little deeper and we looked at what was posted and the captions on those posts and looked for common themes. The biggest common themes that we found was either people being overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative. The positive posts were saying that we're all in this together and that they're proud about us doing an amazing job banding together to fight COVID-19, or they were negative, putting blame on other people and saying that this is the end of the world.
So now specifically we will look at some of the posts that we found on Instagram about COVID-19 in relation to the gratification theory. So first, looking at this page, we have a post of a guy in the Czech Republic who's doing flips in his backyard on a bungee cord. Just kind of showing you that people are optimistic. They're still going outside to do things that they love. And so right next to that, there's actually a picture of a nurse who is unfortunately diagnosed with COVID-19. And that post is just trying to give this woman as much support as they possibly can, trying to make sure, she feels optimistic about the future and things being diagnosed with COVID-19. And then right next to that, there is another post kind of about going outside, a picture of 2 bikes. And the posts, the people are talking about being very optimistic that we will get through this. At the end of the day, we're all going to be okay. And so that's kind of the first general theme that we saw, was that positive theme. Now for the negative theme, we found 2 specific posts that related to that. The first is a woman with her kids, and she's talking about, is it really good to be home or is it kind of bad? She's kind of like, well, now I have to really devote all my attention to these kids, and it's nice to be with them, but again, it is a lot of attention that she has to give outside of her work and things now that she has to spend all this time home. And the one right next to that is a woman in Greece who's out shopping at a grocery store, and she's kind of just got distraught looking at all the groceries that have kind of been ransacked for COVID-19, and she kind of describes things as being meaningless. So we kind of have two different altering perspectives on this COVID-19 on Instagram specifically.
So they use the gratification theory by using Instagram as an outlet to share their feelings, and doing that they satisfied themselves by feeling like they were being heard and that other people were hearing them, because anybody can view the post if their profiles are on public. So we also had someone go to Twitter, and she collected data from Twitter. So we are going to use the data that she collected from Twitter and the data that we collected from Instagram, and we're going to cross-reference them to see how people responded to COVID-19 on various media platforms, and how maybe the posts and themes varied based on what platform they were on.
My name's Eileen, and I was responsible for collecting data on Twitter. And the way I collected this data was through looking at the hashtag coronavirus and hashtag COVID-19. And if you know anything about Twitter, you also know you could just look up those words without using the hashtag, so you get more results. If you know anything about social media always has usually those two different parts. So part one is like the serious and like opinionated type of part of social media. So you're gonna see like your positives and negatives of like seriousness, and then the second part of social media that you're gonna see is like the funny, the comedy, the memeable. And so I took tweets from those both sections and kind of compared them to each other. So like the type of people that are interacting with these tweets, who's tweeting these, and then who, who exactly their target, like the person that's tweeting, who their target's gonna be, and then just how if the tweet went viral, just how popular the tweet is. For some of the more serious, informational, opinionated kind of tweets, I had to look those up, but the couple ones that actually they were like the serious kind that went viral, those were actually on my timeline. So the first tweet that I'm actually going to show you is a tweet that was on my timeline, and it actually went viral.
Normal flu, if I get that, I'm going to infect on average about 1.3, 1.4 people, okay, if there was such a division.
Yeah.
And if those 1.3, 1.4 people gave it to the next lot, that's the second time it gets passed on. By the time that's happened 10 times, I've been responsible for about 14 cases of flu. This coronavirus is very, very infectious, so every person passes it to 3. Now that doesn't sound like much of a difference, but if each of those 3 passes it to 3, and that happens at 10 layers, I have been responsible for infecting 59,000 people. Now,
I actually wasn't on top of that maths when you were doing that. Okay, that did come as a shock, yeah.
Right. Now, most people are going to feel a bit pokey, or not very pokey, and be just fine, but they will have spread it around. And a few will get sick at about day 10 of their illness. So they will need to come to a hospital. And when they're in a hospital, they will consume resources and time, and people will look after them quite rightly. And they will be monitored to see if they become really, really sick. Those people then come to an intensive care unit, and that's where, if you're critically ill, your life gets saved or not. And this is the issue. If we've got a limited resource, which we have, a limited number of ventilators, a limited number of doctors, a limited number of nurses, which is fine, because we can't run ourselves with a huge excess capacity all the time. If we overwhelm that, we can't provide that service of caring for these people properly.
This isn't the end of the world, is it?
No, we've got to remember that this is, I'm not going to play it down. It's going to be ugly, it's going to be horrible for a large number of people, but it will be a small number of people who get properly sick, and a smaller percentage of those, again, that need to come to an intensive care unit, and we can save the lives of a large number of those people too. But please, just remember that the best chance we can give for the people who do fall ill is if we've got enough beds and enough staff and enough kit to be able to be there for you. And if you are irresponsible enough to think that you don't mind if you get the flu, remember, it's not about you. It's about everybody else.
So right off the bat, just by looking at the screenshot of the tweet, you could obviously see that this tweet went viral. It has over 37,000 retweets and over 52,000 likes, and it has over 3 million views. So this tweet was shared by a large group of people, and the person that actually tweeted this was, you know, someone that was like younger, and like what they put in this tweet, that person wants other people to see how much of a problem this virus truly is, and it shouldn't be something people should brush off. By giving people visual information, they're able to interact with this more, and because how Twitter works, you could easily copy this video and just share it, and then you could tweet it yourself, and it's still going to show you how many views the video actually got. So no matter who tweets this video, if they tweet it exactly from Twitter, then you're able to see how many views it has. So just by looking at this tweet, you can say that people from the younger generation to like the middle-aged generation and like to older generation, you could tell that a whole lot of people interacted with this tweet. And the reason why this person wanted to tweet this and like let it out was because, you know, it's good to inform people. Like, you want to inform people, not necessarily that you want to go viral, but it's just like you want a large group of people to realize that there is a problem, and we are responsible to carry that message on. So remember how I told you that Twitter has two different parts: the serious, the informational, the like opinionated part of Twitter. So these two tweets that you see in front of you on the left side, that's just like, you know, informational, you know, just how many cases of the coronavirus is going on in the US, you know, in each state. It's just giving you a number, like information, like, hey, like this is something, just information this person wanted to give out to the public to make them realize, you know, it's spreading, like you should take this seriously. And the amount of retweets and likes, it got a little bit over in the hundreds, so it was a pretty popular tweet. And then on the other tweet on the right, you can see that this was an opinionated tweet. Just the person stating that he doesn't understand why people are making a big deal about COVID-19 and the virus going on. And this person actually also just inserts a picture of how many people died from the flu last year. So it's just an opinion that, you know, he's trying to sway people to like kind of brush this off, like shouldn't take seriously. And with most tweets like this, they go viral for one reason, and that's because a large group of people disagree with these kind of opinions because they feel like they are well informed and they feel like this person is in the wrong. This tweet alone, it's not shown here, but this tweet did have over a couple hundred retweets and likes. But this tweet, because it was an opinionated tweet, obviously there was going to be more people interacting with the tweet. So below this tweet, there was a lot more people commenting on how he is wrong, or commenting that they agree with him. So there's a variation of replies, because this tweet is an opinionated tweet compared to the tweet on the left where it's like more informational. There's not really much for people to say, so a lot of people don't interact back, as in typing something back. They just might like it or retweet it. That's the kind of interaction, the most interaction they'll have with that tweet. So now going with the other side of Twitter, now we're gonna see like the, you know, the memeable stuff that people do. So this first tweet, you know, the original GIF of this tweet is, I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's like of a dog driving around in a car. So it's just like, you know, making a meme that, you know, because they found out that animals can't contract the virus, so they're like, let's make a meme out of this. So usually people make memes just to, make fun of a situation that's happening, most people use social media to like escape the real world, and like by escaping the real world they go find humor of, something that's actually happening. Even though majority of the people making these memes are part of like the younger generation, because our generation alone just makes a joke out of everything. We're the type of people that don't really take anything too seriously, but at the same time we do when we need to. And as you could see, this tweet actually was pretty viral and it was on my timeline. I actually retweeted it because, that's funny. Like, I want other people to see it, because I want them to laugh and I want them to, laugh. For the tweets that are considered, funny and like memeable, there's no specific rule what's gonna be, viral. Not all viral tweets have media. Not all viral tweets are, just words. It's like a combination of both, and depends on how people, feel. Like, oh, I felt that, or like, oh my god, that is so funny. And it just depends on the type of person. Most of the people that are like, interacting with these memes and are retweeting these memes are, like I said before, like the younger generation.
So to conclude our PowerPoint presentation, what we have noticed as the overarching theme of this media uses and gratification theory combined with COVID-19 has been that people are in fact using social media to communicate about this recent pandemic, most notably on Twitter through either falling into one of two camps where people are either jovial about it and trying to make light of the situation to uplift people's spirits, or the other camp, which is a little more macabre and it focuses on people effectively having emphasized that we need to deal with the situation at hand and that the effects are much more serious than people think. So with that, that's a bit of a qualitative analyzation of it. Moving a little more to numbers, Instagram has provided a lot of data regarding how popular each of those hashtags are. That is hashtag coronavirus, hashtag COVID_19, which are both being used more and more as the cases in the nation and the world rise up. So this has been a very insightful presentation for us, just seeing how people have been able to effectively use their social medias to mitigate this issue, and we are interested to see where it goes. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so for the activity portion of the panel, we would like everyone to get out their phone and go to their preferred social media, so whether that's Instagram or Twitter, and then type in the hashtags one at a time, COVID-19 and coronavirus, and then from there just kind of scroll through the first 15 or 20 posts and just see what you find, and then some questions to consider while you're browsing should be: are you mainly seeing comedic posts or more factual posts referring to the pandemic? Which type of posts do you feel are most effective in communicating about the coronavirus? And which type of posts do you prefer to see, if you prefer to see any at all? So we chose to do this activity because it's a very clear and effective demonstration of how the gratification theory is being used in our society today on social media in response to the coronavirus. And gratification theory is shown through this activity by how people use social media to display information. So, for example, the tweet about breaking down state by state all the confirmed cases at that time. This is a very factual post, and it relayed to his followers and then to whoever could see it the severity of COVID-19 and give them a little bit more information about how quickly this spreads and how serious it is. But the gratification theory is also shown by those users who make light of the situation. So either making like a funny post or a meme about the coronavirus. So for example, that would be the man who tweeted how he felt like a kindergartner while he was in quarantine, who
kept being denied recess because everyone wasn't following the rules.